Hello, welcome to part 2 of the Awakening Basics series. This is about the path or the process and roughly what you can expect, a very high level overview. I these videos will always be like a chat. I can't imagine me ever having any kind of professional looking video. This is always just going to be like a chat. So always feel free to put questions in the chat. And that's that. So, just to go over from last week, I am not a therapist. I am not a counselor. I've been on my awakening path since 2019. That's a look, huh? Since 2019, and now I'm being guided to shine a light for other people who are on their path. I did take a course in soul coaching, but what I'm sharing with you here is based on my experience. And just a little reminder that a spiritual awakening is a very profoundly individual journey to like inward, to find your true self, to find your connection with source or God. It's not a religious experience. It's more of an unbecoming. It's more of letting go of the accumulated baggage and getting back to your true soul. So also, I use the terms God and universe and source interchangeably because I want you to be able to receive the message and put it in the framework that makes the most sense to you without being put off by religion or lack of, or, please take this message in whatever way works for you so that you can receive this universal message. So with that being said, just a reminder that when your soul wakes up, it won't go back to sleep. Trying to stay in a place that you don't belong will only become more uncomfortable. And then at the same time, trying to move out of that comfortable discomfort that I call it. Hey, Shane. Trying to move out of that comfortable discomfort is not only daunting, it can seem impossible. And then you add to that the fact that you don't even think you deserve anything better. You think this is your lot in life. So add that all up and you're going to stay stuck and uncomfortable for a long time. And that's what I'm here for. I am here to tell you that you do deserve better and you can move out of that space. You do deserve love and you deserve a beautiful life just because you exist. That's the only requirement. You exist, so you get to have a beautiful life. Forget all the lies that you tell yourself. Speaking of lies, I wanted to start with some basic truths that helped me, continue to help me. And the first one is that you are not your mind. You are a 3-part being. You are a soul. Your soul is the eternal part of you. Your soul is just unconditional love. Your soul is your true essence. You have a mind, and your mind will try to run the show. Your mind is what labels things, and it tells you what's good and bad. And it's what will put all of these triggers in place to try to keep you out of trouble, but ultimately can just hurt us, in the long run. We'll get into that. And then you have a body that's pretty self-explanatory. But your mind placing triggers, if there's an event that happens and it causes anger or fear or sadness, I think of it like your ego, in an effort to protect you, will kind of like plant a flag there. And then anything that comes into your space that might cause anything that feels like that, again, will hit that flag or will set off that trigger and can cause this big reaction to like a seemingly small, situation. So understanding that that's not who you are. That's a reaction you're having to a situation. And all that a trigger is doing is bringing up something for you to see that it needs to be healed. That's all it is. It's not a character flaw. You don't have to berate yourself for having emotions. It's just an opportunity to observe and release that emotion and understand that you can do that is possible. The second truth is the only moment that exists is now. These both came from the first book that I read when I woke up. Woke up was The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and these first two concepts were the first kind of like blew my mind. Like, what do you mean the only time is now? Like, there's the future, and everything is right now. So even if you say on Tuesday, well, right now Tuesday is the future, but on Tuesday it's now. I don't even know if I'm explaining that right, but the only thing that exists is now. So if you find yourself ruminating, or you're feeling guilt or shame, or um, trying to predict your future based on fears that you developed from the past, you're obviously in the past. And yes, live in the now, absolutely. And if you're finding yourself anxious and worrying, then you've kind of put yourself in the future. And if you keep doing that and you're constantly doing that, then you're missing the present moment, which is where your life is it's all unfolding right here. So that's helpful to remember, because it lets you tend to what's in front of you instead of trying to carry all the baggage from your past and worry about everything that's going to happen to you coming up. You can just live in the now and find your peace and return to center. And then as things come to you, you can deal with them. Number 3, where your attention goes, your energy flows. Your attention and the energy that follows it is your most valuable currency. Everyone is after it. Be mindful of where you place it and who you give it to. And your energy feeds what you give it to. So just like if you're in a garden and you are feeding weeds and ignoring flowers, you can only imagine what your garden will look like. It would likely not be aesthetically pleasing, but that's how it goes. If you are feeding the negativity in your life and you're feeding the doom and gloom, that's what you're going to get more of. You're going to grow that in your life. And conversely, if you focus on your joy and your peace and feed that, then that's what you'll get more of. Number 4, I just had a glitch. What other people think of you is none of your business. That was very hard for me to grasp. And because it's so ingrained in us that everyone should like us. And if everyone likes us and they value us, then that means that we are a good person, and we're seeking validation from other people. And, if everyone loves us, then that means we are the nicest and best version of ourselves that we can be, or most successful, or, insert label here. And we think that other people's approval is the end goal. And that's how you measure your worth as a person. And that is simply not true. You can't make everyone like you. Not you'd have to be incredibly fake if everyone you met liked you. I mean, think about it. So you can't chase that. You can't say, I need everyone to like me, because it will drive you crazy. It will let you down. It's not going to work. Everyone's going to have a different version of you in their mind. Like I always say, I am an angel in some people's story. I am a villain in other people's story, and I'm always a clown. So, but it all depends on why you met, how long ago you met, what their life experience is. Like all of these factors, you can't chase other people's approval and then base your worth on that. All you can do is align with your soul, do what's true to you, become your true self, let go of all of the labels and all of the worries and the fears that you're not good enough, and just become your true self. And then what's meant for you, you will attract that in, instead of, I need someone to validate me, and I need someone to love me. Just align with your soul and fill your cup, as they say. Find your joy. And then when you're fulfilled and that you have this love, then you can kind of give away the overflow. And like I said, what's meant for you will come based on that. You'll attract in that frequency instead of the needy, I need someone to complete me scene. Which brings me to, you're whole and complete, just as you are. You don't need to earn love. You're worthy of it just because you exist. I mean, you're here for a reason, and you deserve a beautiful life. You're not broken. You're not full of demons. You're not bad. You have wounds that need to be tended to so that they can heal, so that these reactions that have really gone unchecked, because, we think of them as part of our personality, so we don't even bother to try to change anything or pay any more attention to it. We just tend to berate ourselves for it, like, oh, that's just how I am. So, and don't let that label be put on you. Don't let anyone say that you're a victim and you have no control over how you act or what your life is going to look like because of things that have happened to you. Don't give away your power like that. You have all the power. You are the power, and you deserve all the love, and that's what we're going to work towards. Then you can move towards your true self and the life that you deserve. So turning inward like that everything that you need is inside of you. Like all of the love that you've always been seeking and the peace that you're craving, that's all inside of you. And that's such a good feeling when you first tap into that and you realize oh, this feels good, and I can come here anytime I want, and I can kind of refill and then give away the overflow instead of just constantly giving out of a sense of obligation, and then you just drain yourself and you have nothing left for yourself. So tapping into that and realizing that everything is inside of you is very freeing. So That's also like how you have to do it though. You can't, nothing else will fill the void that you're trying to fill by having, other people love you or seeking peace or comfort outside of yourself. You could have someone who loves you unconditionally, who would do anything for you and adores you, and still they cannot love you enough to fill that void. That love has to come from you. Has to. It's not a question. So no one's coming to save you? Yes, you must love yourself first. No one's coming to save you because they can't, because of all the things that we just said, that it has to come from you. But ultimately, that's a good thing, because instead of sitting and thinking, oh, I'm broken and I need someone to come and accept me for this broken self that I am and just love me and they will complete me. I know I've been there. It has to come from you. So you don't have to wait for anyone to come and rescue you. You're going to do it yourself. So that means you can start now without waiting for anyone. So how do you do that? The second part of this is how to kind of build a framework so that you can move through the process. So healing, of course, it's dynamic, it's cyclical, it's fluid, all of these words that they use to describe it. And there are oscillations, your ups and downs, which get easier to navigate. It's like riding a wave, really. Instead of fighting a wave, you would ride it. Keep that in mind for for when you have to do this. But just because it's all of those things doesn't mean that it has to be just random and chaotic and you're just constantly like being rolled by these waves and you don't know what's going on. You can kind of orient yourself and you can kind of set yourself up for some success by having this sort of framework in mind and this understanding of what's coming and why it's happening. So without your numbing, because if you keep trying to numb and distract yourself from this awakening, it's just going to get more and more painful. Like I said, you're not going to get your soul to go back to sleep. It's decided, like, I'll take it from here, and it's going to move you to where you need to be, and you can either go with the flow or make it drag you. So the 3-part kind of framework that I made, I started with a journal, and I had tried to change everything before, but I started with a journal this time because I knew I wanted it to stick. And that consisted of me feeding or making sure that I was nourishing my mind, body, and soul. So it was kind of like it was all moving forward at once. So then, in general, my life felt better rather than feeling like I was just, miserable because in my case, I had quit drinking. So instead of just staying in the same scenario, but now I'm just not drinking in this uncomfortable place that I'm in and trying to white knuckle my way through it, I tried to make a plan so that I could move my whole self forward, which worked for me. So if you're talking about nourishing, your mind, you're going to want to take in new ideas and new perspectives. So one of the first shows that I watched was, I don't know if you've ever heard of Joe Dispenza, but on Gaia, he did a show called, it was a series called Rewired, about rewiring your brain. And this was 4.5 years ago. So what I remember from it was the fact that we think tens of thousands of thoughts, I believe, a day, and they're all recycled. So essentially you're living the same day over and over again. So that's why I decided it was important to bring new ideas into the mix so that I wasn't living the same day over and over again. So, new ideas, new perspectives, um, especially like with your social media. Try to find things that, just the idea of it resonates with you, and then go down a positive rabbit hole, or, like, oh, I didn't know about qigong, and I didn't know about life force energy, and I didn't know about chakras, or, explore some of those subjects instead of, all of the despair that's on social media now, and everyone's boycotting and everyone's mad. Learn to feed and nourish your mind, and let that bring you some peace instead of constantly being sucked into the anger. Um, Honestly, people think that we should just be putting more and more anger out into the world, and once it clicks, you realize like that's not going to change anything. I could go everywhere and yell at everyone for, I don't feel like this is right and this isn't right and this isn't right. Okay, well, now you're just adding more anger out in the universe. And what we need to do is put more love out there. And in order to put more love out there, we have to love ourselves first. So that's where this comes in. So, a bit of a sidetrack. But anyway, so your body, feeding your body, it's so important to try to eat well, feed yourself well, drink lots of water, get lots of rest, get exercise, be good to yourself. It's tempting, especially if you give up a vice, to replace it with another vice. And you think, oh, well, I can't have a drink, so I'm going to have a burger and fries. This is based on a true story. But eventually you realize, okay, feeding myself poorly is not what's best for me either. It's big picture time. Like you realize that overall you're trying to do what's best for you. So you want to nourish yourself. You want to nourish all aspects of yourself. And yeah, feeding your spirit, your soul. I gave up cigarettes a little over a year ago. Congratulations. That's not easy. Yeah, I quit drinking, and then I was still smoking, and it dawned on me. I was like, why am I still smoking? Like, it's a process. But yeah, that's hard. So good for you. Um, when you're feeding your spirit, that I'm sorry, there's a delay, I think, on the comments, so I'm not like trying to ignore them. But anyway, so when you feed your spirit, that's where like your meditation comes in. That is a must. Did you try meditating yet, Shane? I know you said last time you wanted to think about it. Okay. Meditation is where you're going to really clear your mind. So that voice that's telling you the stories, you're going to kind of push it to the side. You haven't tried yet. Okay. You're going to push it to the side, and you're going to let your soul come through, and your inner being, your higher being, your, whatever you want to call it, your intuition, the voice that's really trying to guide you and is going to guide you towards what's best for you. That's when you can tap into that. And the more you practice tapping into it, the easier it gets, and the easier it is to understand that your motivation for doing something is from your soul rather than your mind or ego. Like you'll just know when your intuition or your gut or your soul is guiding you. It will feel very aligned, but not always what you want to do, because we don't always want to move out of places because, we think that's as good as it's going to get. And, and there are parts of the situation that we love very much, but it's not what's best for us. And we have to trust that what's best for us is coming as long as we don't cling to things that aren't anymore. But tuning into that voice and learning to listen to it is key. And the more you listen, the stronger the messages get and the stronger the knowing is. So, yeah, feed your mind, feed your body well, nourish, I should say, and your spirit. So look into meditation, yoga, qigong, those things nourish all three. So, all right, if you have feelings that are coming up, just observe them. Don't judge them. Don't say, this is who I am and I'm just destined to react this way and I'm a bad person and all of the things that we tell ourselves. So just process the emotions that come up. Don't try to hang on to them. Don't attach a story to them. And I've gotten knowings before where I think, oh, should I do this? And it's just like, no, stop writing chapters for that old story. That old story is not what's best. You're moving into chapters that you can't imagine because we've always been, trying to predict our future based on the little bit that we knew. But you have to just surrender and trust that your soul knows better than our mind, right? So, yeah, just if your emotions come up, then you can observe them. You can identify them if you like, and just remind yourself that you are not your emotions, and you can just release them. And as you're observing the emotions, you can just release them. You can just say, no, I'm just going to let that pass through me. I'm not angry anymore. I am not angry. I felt anger and I'm letting it go. I hope so. My mind is crazy sometimes. Yeah. Like I said before, like we all think like there's no way that I am the exception to the rule that everyone can meditate. Like you can. You just have to tell yourself that you can and commit to it. And you can start small. That's fine. So, but when the emotions come up, you can. It will bring like a limiting belief with it. Let me think about this for a second. The emotion will come up and you'll say, like, oh, I'm not good enough, or I can't do this because then I'll be abandoned, or I won't be loved, or you can identify that, but just tell yourself that it's not true and just release it. And if you keep having the same emotion come back, maybe you need to look and see what's triggering it and really get into, where it's coming from. For me, again, I am not a therapist. For me, it worked sometimes that I could just say, I am just letting go. Sorry, there's an ant. I don't think he was contributing to the conversation. But sometimes it worked for me to just say, I'm just letting it all go. I'm letting it go. And in a couple situations where I was like, whoa, why did I freak out about that? I had to kind of navigate back to like, where's that coming from? And remind myself, like I always say, remind yourself, I'm safe and I am loved. And a lot of times if you haven't been safe in the past and a situation that feels like it might not be safe comes up, of course, that can be a trigger for you. But remind yourself that you are safe and that you are loved and that you are whole and complete. And you can choose to just let it go. If you feel like you need to figure out where it's coming from, or if it keeps coming back for you, then go ahead and do that. And in those situations where I knew what had triggered it, it was helpful to go back to, so say it was, the sixth grade version of me that felt this fear or whatever you're feeling, and you know where to trace it back to. Go back to that version of yourself that's still there, that's still hurting and still scared, and go back with the wisdom and the love that you have now and the understanding, and just remind yourself or tell your smaller self, it's okay, it's okay, you're safe now. And then I always pictured, like, come on, let's go. We'll bring you back with me. And that helped me as well. I'm not advocating for or saying that you should or shouldn't try to remember things that you didn't remember. That is not my area of expertise. But these are just things that worked for me. And so you can either choose to just say, I'm just going to let this go, because I know that none of the resulting emotions are true. I know that I'm safe. I know that I'm whole and that I'm loved and I'm worthy of a beautiful life. Sorry. Or if you think you need to go back and kind of tell your younger self, like, we're good, like, let's go, come with me, then that's an option too. I think that's it. I thought I had an idea for a second there, but it's gone now. So, yeah, if you just give yourself a solid framework and take this understanding of the overall process with you, and know that it's going to be a very individual experience. It's cyclical, it is dynamic, and all of these things. And when you recognize the emotion is coming up, just release it. You don't have to identify with it or tell a big story about it. And rinse and repeat. That's the best way to go about it. And be good to yourself. Just remind yourself that you are a beautiful soul, beautiful, perfect soul that came onto this earth, and you can get back to that and get out from under all of these layers of painful experiences that have left their mark on us, right? You can let it all go. So I think that's all. This one was 32 minutes long. Does anyone have any questions, either of you? Thank you. I enjoyed it too. Thanks for coming. All right. Well, that's that. If you think of any questions, you can always leave them in the comments. And the next two will be kind of some obstacles that I've identified for me that came up. And then the last week will kind of be how to get past them. So good. I'm glad you're going to try meditation. You should do it, man. Well, thanks again for coming. I appreciate it. And I will upload this if anyone wants to see it after the fact. And that's it. Have a great night. And I will talk to you later. Thank you. You're welcome.